Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Flood Watch call with AARP Alaska. We are fortunate to have a guest with us that is new to the program. My name is Daryl Royce. I'm the Outreach Director with AARP Alaska. And also joining me on the call today is Teresa Holt, the AARP Alaska State Director. And I also see we have Michelle Tabler, who is our lead fraud volunteer for Alaska. And I also would like to introduce our guest today, Jessica Krogh. I believe you are calling us today from Denver. And Jessica is with the AARP Fraud Watch program, and we'll be talking about the new pilot program just recently developed in partnership with VOA and AARP, and it's called the ReST program. And I know, Jessica, that you will tell us what ReST stands for and all the other pertinent information associated with the program. So with that, Jessica, I'd like to welcome you to the program, and I'm going to share my screen here as you have some welcoming remarks, and we'll get started.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to get to speak to you all up there in Alaska. As Daryl said, my name's Jessica Krogh. I'm with the Fraud Watch program, specifically with the helpline, so the fraud victim services side of everything that we do Fraud Watch Network related. I've been in this role for about 5.5 years, and recently we added this new program called ReST, which is started in June 7th, so a month and a half that we've been working on this program. So we're still learning a lot, and I wanted to share all of this information with you. So ReST stands for Resilience, Strength, Time. And this is a free virtual through Zoom facilitated discussion group to provide emotional support for victims of scams and their loved ones or caregivers or others that are in similar situations. So Daryl, if you want to switch the slide, I'll tell you a little bit about the background here. And if you have questions at any point in time, just let me know. So this program started originally through a partnership with Volunteers of America. So they have a program that they started when COVID started, and it was essentially for essential workers and first responders to work with the emotional side of things, the moral injury that folks were feeling. So people had a place to talk, an outlet to talk about what feelings they're having, what their body is feeling like, and just a safe space for that. We, with a partnership with them, have taken kind of their successful program and adapted some of the curriculum to focus specifically on fraud victims and their caregivers or loved ones. So what we notice is that fraud can victimize people is not just financial, but also emotional. So we have the Fraud Watch Network helpline. We've had that helpline for 9 years, I think. Before that, we've even had another helpline, Elder Watch, with AARP and the Colorado Attorney General's Office for 20 years. AARP has held this helpline. And then the Fraud Watch Network national helpline started a handful of years ago as well. And what we've seen from helping people through the helplines for almost 20 years has been that it's not just the financial loss, but the emotional piece of that as well. And up until right now, we haven't had a great outlet for that to encourage folks. So it's very exciting for us to be able to help people with not only the resources and the referrals and the how to get a credit report and what you should do about a fraud alert or a credit freeze or all of those other tangible resources and referrals, but also now the emotional healing part.
And Jessica, is this a one-on-one conversation, or is it with a counselor and a group of people who have been basically victimized?
Great question. So this is a group opportunity. It's an opportunity for folks to meet others who have also experienced that victimization and be able to connect with someone else. We have a volunteers who are trained facilitators. We give them extensive training and support for folks to be the facilitator. And then there's a curriculum to follow to help people along. And I'll go through a little bit more of what that curriculum looks like. But what this has been is an opportunity for people to talk to each other who have been victims of scams that are similar, but you don't feel so alone anymore. Now you're talking to another person, looking them in the eye virtually, to be able to see someone who has had that same experience and build that connection, and it's been successful.
And Jessica, are the people who participate in the groups, are they victims of a similar style of scam or fraud, like an imposter scam or a romance scam? Do you group them that way?
Great question. We don't at this time. So we talked about that a little bit, but really, whether you've had $5 stolen from you or $500,000 stolen from you, you still have those same issues around trust, around, safety, around whatever. Whether you were victimized because someone lied to you because they told you that there was a sweepstakes that you have won, or a romance that told you that they loved you, those emotions are still similar, and those feelings, and we can support each other even without having that exact same identical situation and scenario.
And then do you cap the group size for participants in the call?
Yes, we do. The Volunteers of America has found that it is useful to have a smaller group setting. So we try to keep people under 7 people, or if it's more than that, we would have 2 facilitators. But so far, we've done great of having enough options of days of the week and sessions for people to attend that we haven't had that need yet. So I think we will probably add more sessions than make groups too big for people, so that they have enough time to speak what they're talking about and not be able to have too many people in the group.
Okay, and sorry to take all your time, but one more question here on this. So when people call the AARP Fraud Watch helpline, is this now something that they hear about after they tell their story? Do they then say, is this another resource that's available for them?
Sure, it is. We don't always tell everyone on the helpline. The volunteers who are answering those helpline calls, it might not seem like a good fit or a good resource for someone, but when it is, we are definitely making sure we're sharing that information with them and trying to provide that also in other avenues as well, so that people can hear about it.
Great.
Thanks. So if we go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about this. As we said, it's based off of Volunteers of America's other programs. And we have recruited our volunteers. So actually the photo on the left there is Nancy, who's one of our Fraud Watch Network helpline volunteers. And we've in the past had volunteers specifically in Denver and Seattle, where our 2 helpline locations are. And then since coronavirus started and we found that we could work remotely, work virtually, we now have the capacity and the ability to have virtual volunteers. So we have volunteers who help with our helpline in 17 different states throughout the country, which has been an amazing opportunity to expand our volunteer base and our experts in this field and be able to provide more support to the helpline.
And if
then
people want to sign up to become a volunteer, how does that process happen?
You come and talk to me. Absolutely. So I have my contact information on the last slide here. We have opportunities for volunteers to get involved in our helpline or through facilitating this group. You don't have to have an experience of fraud before that. And you don't have to have any experience of being a facilitator for a small group session either. We can train on those things. We really want people to have the desire to talk to others, to be capable of handling. We provide a AARP issued iPhone and to make phone calls if you're on the helpline, or we'd have you make sure you can utilize Zoom, and we train on that too for the peer facilitator group.
Great. I would imagine that as the word gets out on this program, that you will probably see a significant uptick in the number of volunteers or people who will want to volunteer for the program.
We hope so. And it's been especially helpful to have people throughout the country who are serving in different time zones. So we're able to assist, our callers, our helpline victims through the various times of day.
And that brings up another question, Jessica. So is this, when you have a group that meets, do you send out a calendar invitation or an email, or how is someone basically selected for a group, and then how do they know where and when and how to show up?
Wonderful question. On our website, aarp.org/fraud support, you can learn more information about the program itself. And then there's a button where you click register to sign up. It actually takes you outside of AARP's website to a third party, which is Support Group Central. And Support Group Central is a organization that hosts virtually lots of support groups. And so they have a very secure platform that we're taking advantage of that. Organizing, they have great skills of having the meetings listed there so you can see when the upcoming meetings are. Everybody must sign in and register with a username and a password so you get the meeting reminder emails, and you go through the portal to sign into Zoom so that we are sure that this is staying secure and confidential, and we're not having any, bad parties entering into our system.
And if someone doesn't have access to a camera or Zoom or some platform like that, can they just call in on the phone?
That is a great question, Daryl, and it's been one we've been dealing with a lot lately. As of right now, that hasn't been an option. It's still in this pilot phase, so we're still using the platform that Peer Support Group has, Support Group Central has, and that doesn't include the option for people to call in. Now, we've been trying to play around with that idea to see more. And so I'd love to get feedback from people who would say that they'd be interested if that was an option. Hey, the need is here. Let's figure out a way to make that happen.
Great, great. All right, should we go to the next slide?
Wonderful. So here's a little bit of the components of what is from a curriculum that has been studied and reviewed by Volunteers of America. They have, experts in the field who have helped create this to develop what are successful tools to help people with moral injury to not have moral distress and moral injury from, being victims of different things. So the first step is just our introduction and our icebreaker. We have a fun little questions that we can ask people. If you were a weather report, what would it be, right? So just kind of, if you'd like to be anywhere else in the world, where would that be? Ways to get kind of to break down any nerves. Our second stage is involving some of the meat and bones of what this program is about. We teach people about deep listening. We teach people belly breathing. And then we even do a small short meditation. This helps lower our blood pressure. It helps us remember how to breathe through our diaphragm instead of up in our chest, which provides us with some of those skills that we need. One, to listen to each other and to feel comfortable and safe sharing about our own feelings. Then we have time for sharing. This is an opportunity for people to express any feelings of distress that they've been having lately, to, let those out. And then also, be able to hear from each other, and then, provide any reflection or feedback. We have a lot of opportunity then for just people to open up and talk about, well, I was really feeling what you were saying there, and my heart is with you, and various things to help support someone. in a session I attended a couple days ago, the person had never actually spoke out verbally any of that feeling before. And so it was an interesting opportunity for them. And then to feel like it was safe, that everybody else on the call, the session was comfortable with them. And the next step is the affirmation. We just close with an affirmation to help remind us that we are worthy and we are continuing, and to uplift us a little bit, and try to help each other come up with, what is one thing we're grateful for, and maybe what is one gift or self-care that we're going to give to ourselves as we move forward, something to encourage growth. And then we close and, of course, offer suggestions of extra resources, both in self-care or feelings through Volunteers of America, or in fraud support and fraud information through AARP.org.
And just how long does an
Okay.
average session last?
Yes, each session is 1 hour. So we try to keep that. It seems to be a good amount of time. It doesn't allow people to share forever, but it does, challenge our deep listening abilities and make sure that we're able to hear from each other and be able to reflect back to each other as well.
Great. We're about 20 minutes into the presentation right now. I just want to pause here for just a second, if we can, check with any of our guests that are with us today to see if they may have any questions they may want to ask live or in chat. If you'd like to chat in your question, feel free to use the chat feature on Zoom, or if you'd like to ask your question live, we can unmute you also. We are a small group today, so there is going to be good opportunity for you to ask a question of Jessica today. So if you have a question and you'd like to put it in chat, feel free to do that. You can even raise your hand if you'd like, and we can unmute your line. I'm going to pause here for just a second. I don't see any questions or hands being raised. So Jessica, are we ready to go to the next slide?
Sure. Oh, I guess there is one here. Is it an ongoing group or a one-time meeting? Wonderful question. And we're leaving that open for people to decide. Sometimes you only need one meeting, and just to get some of those feelings out, to know that there are other people out there and for support, and then that's it. Others want to continue to come back. Even just in our first few weeks, we've already seen folks who have attended 3, 4, 5 sessions even. So it's a helpful thing as they're continuing to process how their feelings are. We don't have any set curriculum. Each session is the same structure, so it's not like it's a 10-week course or anything like that. So you can come and go, pop in, come to as many as you'd like.
That's great to know. And I would imagine that as people return, and the groups, of course, the individuals involved in the groups would be different, the experiences would be different, and there's probably more learning opportunities with a variety of stories, if you will, from these groups.
You've got it. Exactly.
Great. All right. Shall we go to the next slide?
Sure. The next slide here is just an example of a session closer, kind of one of those affirmation closing pieces that we have. And we just like this statement because it helps people feel really good. And so I'm just going to read it to you. And if you kind of close your eyes and imagine yourself having just become a victim of a scam that has perpetrated you, this can feel really refreshing. We may be afraid, but our fears do not own us. We may be troubled, but our distress does not define us. Bad moments pass, just like good ones. We are enough. We will get through this. We are resilient. We are worthy. And this just is very powerful after we've had some conversation and people have shared some of their fears, some of their distress, some of those moments, and to be able to remind ourselves of how great we really are as people.
And Jessica, can you just speak briefly to maybe some of the more common reactions that you hear from people who have been victims I'm sure there are commonalities among the stories, among the reactions, the emotional trauma they go through. Can you just talk a little bit about sort of what you are hearing that's kind of crossing all lines, so to speak?
Yes, absolutely. Our Fraud Watch Network helpline has been going on for about, I guess I should have probably know this off of my head. 8 years is what I'm going to say. I've been on it for 5.5 years, and we have about 500 people who call into the Fraud Watch Network helpline every day. About 100 of those, 150 of those individuals have been victimized by a scam. So they have had money stolen from them, or they've had their personal information compromised. The others, you might be like, well, what about those? Are usually reporting a scam. They're saying, hey, this happened, but I wasn't affected. Everything's good. They just wanted AARP to know about it. So that's really successful. We're seeing people who want to provide that information to us to make sure that we tell the others and keep people informed, which is what you all are doing with presentations and keeping people alert to what scams are happening out there. The rest of those that are victims speak with our volunteers who are on our helpline. And the feelings and the emotions that we hear from folks can range from lots of stuff. A lot of people have feelings of guilt of this, I should have known better. These thoughts of like, I can't believe I fell for this, which we don't like to say. I can't believe I was so stupid. It wasn't you. It is a criminal taking advantage of you. It is a criminal who is manipulating you. A con artist is the one to blame, not you as the victim. And so those are the sorts of things we hear a lot on the helpline, and encourage things like the support group to continue to reiterate the importance of remembering that you are worthy and that you are not, to blame for this, because it's the criminal who's to blame. And Daryl, if you'd like to switch to the next slide, I can provide you with some examples of feedback from our participants of the ReST sessions of our fraud support group, that they feel like a weight has been lifted off their shoulders, that they're just appreciative of someone listening to them and suggesting that others attend so that you don't feel so alone.
And I would imagine, Jessica, that like you mentioned, you brought this up earlier about how people can kind of get they feel like they should have known better. But do you help them with sort of strategies on how they can know better, if or who maybe they want to talk to their friends or families or colleagues, and kind of what to watch out for? Is there sort of that information? Is that also shared in the meetings?
Great question. I think there is a little bit from participant to participant. We have a lot of that abilities to be peers and to be wise friends for each other, right? AARP is all about being a wise friend. And here's one of the ways is by providing that opportunity to say, yeah, that sounds like that person is not good to have in your life. And I'm glad that you're attending this session today. I'm glad that we can be there to support you. I'm so happy to hear you share. Those sorts of things that come from others is very important. The other stuff we talk about is red flags of scams, which is the same information we're providing in a lot of our fraud prevention materials, the same stuff that you all are providing in the various works that you do around fraud prevention as well, trying to remind people of those things. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. We never want to pay for payments in gift cards, various things like that to help keep us safe.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
All right, would you like to go to the next slide?
Sure, let's go ahead. And the next one is a little bit about keeping in touch with us as a team. So this is the website for the fraud support group program. As we said, aarp.org www.AARP.org/fraud support, and you can learn more about the program. Please, keep that handy for anyone that you may come in contact with who's been victimized by a scam. They can learn more about our opportunities and when our sessions are. We also have the website that's for the Fraud Watch Network. If it's been a little while since you've been on our website, definitely check it out. There's new articles that are being put out on the website all the time on various scams. I think in the last year, there's been another 20 different articles of various scams added to the fraud resource library. And it's always helpful to keep an eye out to keep yourself familiar with the latest scams that are out there. You'll also see listed here our Fraud Watch Network helpline. You can call this number. You'll speak to a trained volunteer who can, work through with you about take your reports or talk to you about, various resources and referrals and steps to take if you've been victimized. Also, my colleague Liz is not here with us today, but that's her contact information. She is the other side of providing this fraud prevention support program, and she's been crucial in the marketing and the connections with this fraud support group that we have. And then myself listed there, that's my email address if you want to reach out to me. If you because I work a lot with the victim support. And so training all of our volunteers that are on our helpline or our support group and, coordinating what those sessions look like. And our final slide, Daryl, talks about some of those next opportunities to get involved. So you can see here the listing of upcoming ReST sessions, and I put those in our Alaska time, I hope. So you can see, we have 3 days a week right now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday sessions at different times of the day in hopes of meeting people at their needs. And if you are interested in being a volunteer, either a facilitator or a volunteer with the Fraud Watch Network helpline, you can also reach out to me for more details about that. Our next session of training volunteer facilitators for the fraud support group is in mid-August, and early August we'll start kind of those sessions. Teresa has a question about whether the sessions are the same time every week. As of right now, they are. We are trying to keep consistency to see if that brings new things, though we're also working with kind of trying different stuff. We had some on Mondays and Fridays, and those didn't seem to be as active. Nobody was coming Friday afternoons. I don't know why. So that might change a little bit. It's also trying to adapt a little bit to our volunteers' schedules, who are the ones that are able to facilitate the sessions. So a blend there. They might change in the future, though really right now they're kind of just picked at random to see how well they can survive and kind of what works best for folks.
And Jessica, if we know someone who we think could benefit from participating in one of these groups, in these conversations, can we share your phone number and email with that person, and then they would just reach out to you to then sign up?
Sure. The more direct way would be through the AARP.org/fraud support. But I absolutely understand that a lot of folks are interested in speaking to someone first, getting a little more of an information behind that. And so please have them reach out to me. I've been, speaking to a lot of our individuals in advance of attending the sessions just because they, want to know a friendly face. I facilitate them on occasion, though we also have other volunteers and staff who lead them as well. So they, might have a session with me, but I'm happy to always just do question and answer with them first if that makes them feel more comfortable.
Okay, so to repeat, AARP.org/fraud support is the sort of the main doorway into accessing this program, to getting signed up for it. But if someone has more specific questions, or like you say, wants to kind of have a one-on-one conversation, they're free to reach out to you.
Absolutely.
Feel a little more comfortable about sort of getting signed up that way.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Well, I'd like to pause here. Just going to check with our guests, other guests today, to see if anyone has any other questions. Feel free to, again, place those questions in chat or raise your hand. We are a small group today, so if you'd like to ask a question live, we are happy to unmute your microphone and you can ask Jessica a question live. So again, do you see anything, Jessica? I don't see any new questions coming in on chat. Any of our other guests, good opportunity if you'd like to ask a question. Anyone else? So I'll just pause here for a few seconds to see if anyone else has any other questions. Okay, so Jessica,
I think you are muted. Daryl, we all got muted on accident there, if you're still there.
Thanks for alerting me that. I do appreciate that. Jessica, I just was asking if it would be possible. Could you tell us one more time what REST stands for again?
Yes, resilience, strength, time. And that is something that was developed through Volunteers of America, resilience, strength, time. And those were the kind of three things that we felt was part of what their early sessions around first responders and essential workers were needing, and those things truly stick with all of us. The REST sessions through Volunteers of America are open to anyone who would like to attend. You can also find those on the Support Group Central website. We have a link on our page to Volunteers of America's REST program. So those are open to everyone. Our sessions that are specific for the fraud support is ideally for people who have been victimized by frauds or scams, or their caregivers or loved ones, some sort of connection to that. But if you don't have those connections, the original REST programs with Volunteers of America could be another good option for you as well. Follows the same curriculum. You'll just see that it doesn't have that fraud background focus.
Okay. And let's want to check chat one more time. Looks like, what is the difference between the REST program and the AARP program?
Yeah, so basically that it's the same. Ours is also called REST with fraud specific. And then the Volunteers of America REST program is generally open to everyone. It started as essential workers and first responders, but now it's available for everyone to attend. And then our sessions with AARP, Fraud Watch Network, is specific for the fraud. So it's taking that original Volunteers of America REST session and curriculum and making it fraud specific. That has been really a positive experience for our fraud victims and their caregivers or loved ones who have attended.
Great. Right, I'm going to stop sharing and return us all to the screen here. I do want to thank you, Jessica, for taking the time to travel all the way up here virtually and spend some time with us. So thank you so much for that. And then want to give everyone else on the call with us here one more chance to see if there are any more questions. When you can, feel free to raise your hand, virtually or physically. If you'd like to raise your hand, I can see most of you. And if you have any other questions, we'll just pause here for a second. Okay, so Jessica, that was a fantastic description of the program. I was really curious about it, so I really appreciate you taking the time. And this program is being recorded and will be up on the AARP Alaska YouTube channel. So we will share it as much as we can and hopefully get the word out more about the program. And with that, Jessica, do you have any final closing thoughts, comments, or remarks for us?
I just thank you all for attending or listening in today. And if you have any interest in being a volunteer in any capacity with our helpline or our peer support group facilitating, reach out to me, let me know. I'd love to speak with you more. hope that you promote this to anyone you think might find it useful. It really has been beneficial for those that have attended, and we have a survey afterwards and to note that. And so, if you come across anyone who has been victimized by a scam, or might be dealing with some of the stresses and feelings along trying to help or support someone else who is a victim, we love for you to spread the word and share this information with your other fraud contacts and folks that you're speaking to.
Great. All great information. Really enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks all of you for all that you do for AARP and for our fraud prevention work.